So this is the Forestry report as part of Skeena Wild's Responsible Development Initiative. And the idea is to look at forestry and assess where we're at right now, what the challenges are in Northwest BC, and then how we could potentially address those challenges and what opportunities are available. Some of the challenges we're looking at in this forestry report are larger challenges that BC as a whole is having and the forestry industry sort of around the world is having, but they really come down to what's happening in Northwest BC. And some of those things are we've been essentially using industrial processes in our forests for over 60 years, and those processes don't really work anymore with today's challenges.
Forestry is a hugely complex business, and it is a business. You can't do the same thing every time, and you have to think about economics as well as the ecology and so on. And I truly believe, and this is a fault of FERPA, and in their amendments, the proposed amendments to FERPA, they've recognized that, is that to really get anywhere with changing forestry or improving it is to start with long-term, like 7 generations, 150, 200 years, and landscape level plans. And then you have to start with what needs to remain on the landscape over that length of time to ensure that sort of all ecological resources are sustainable, not necessarily in the same amount that we have now or the same number of animals of any given species or anything, but so it can sustain itself over time. And starting in the middle saying this is no good and that's no good and it's too much of this and too much of that gets you nowhere, because everybody disagrees with it with good reason, or they agree with it without really knowing what they're agreeing with. So that's kind of where I think, and like we've been doing already, these First Nations land use plans that we've been working on are going in the right direction. They're not necessarily, they don't speak for everybody, they speak for First Nations. But that's the way it should start. You look at the land and you determine what needs to be on the land to sustain generations of the future.
My name is Sarah Railton. I'm a registered professional forester, and I work as a consultant to Skeena Wild in developing sustainable forestry initiatives. So I think the main challenge facing BC forestry at this point in time is that we have outdated legislation and policy relating to forest management in the province. And the laws and the policies that govern forest management in the province at this time don't accurately reflect the values that British Columbians have for their forests. The most exciting opportunity that we have at our doorstep here in the Northwest is to be a leader in what we might call the restoration economy going forward. And so that means to create jobs and to create economic activity while we're investing in the land base and while we're working to rehabilitate and restore ecosystems that have been compromised through industrial development in the past. We have a real opportunity to invest in our land base through reforestation activities, incremental silviculture activities that will increase the value and the volume yields from the forest in the future if we're looking at forest products, traditional forest products. We've got opportunities to rehabilitate and restore road systems and stream crossings that are currently a detriment to fish habitat and the hydrologic integrity of a lot of our watersheds. So we can be a real leader in showing how the restoration economy can create value, can create jobs, and ultimately leave us in a better position in the future in terms of sustainability of our natural resources.
I think you should read this report to understand our challenges, because there's some wonky science going around. There's some misunderstandings out there. So that's one thing we've tried to do is address those misunderstandings. Another thing is just to understand, say, certification processes. You know, what can we do going forward? And then looking at opportunities. And part of that's being enthusiastic about how we can move forward. But there's a lot of different opportunities. There's a lot of ways that Joe Public, like you and I, can look to forestry going forward.